Hi there. Welcome to History in Retrograde. This is the podcast where we use the ancient art of astrology to help us better understand the past. I'm your co-host, Chandler O'Quinn, and joining me live via satellite is my mom. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Chandler.
Are you ready to begin another grand experiment?
I am. I'm very ready.
All right, let's begin. So by now, many of you may be familiar with how this podcast works, but some of you may have forgotten, or we may have picked up a few new followers on our journey. So I'll go ahead and explain that the way that this podcast works is that in a moment, I will give the astrological birth data, the birth time, location, and date to my mom. She will enter it into the BAT computer, and out will come out the astrological birth chart of a random historical figure. Now, you, the listening and viewing audience, already know who this historical figure is. I, of course, know because I've selected this figure, but Mom has no idea who this person is. She will then give us a blind reading of the astrological birth chart, tell us what she can on the motivations, character traits, fortunes of this person. And then later on, I will reveal who this historical figure is, and we'll discuss how accurate this chart is to the way that person led their life. So, without further ado, let's begin.
I'm ready.
Okay, so this will be a female.
All right.
Born on the 12th of May, 1907, at 5:47 p.m.
Okay.
The country is the United States. The birthplace is Hartford, Connecticut. Third option there.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, you definitely don't pick boring people. That's for sure. All right. Let's start. I was, like to start with the North Node. So that is North Node in Cancer at 25 degrees and the 9th house. Right. So 9th house can represent travel, philosophy, also conjunct Neptune. 10 degrees. So this would be a person who is meant to nurture. People who have North Node in Cancer are natural nurturers. That's what they're supposed to do.
Okay.
9th house is ruled by Sagittarius. So it could be a person that travels and nurtures, but also with Neptune conjunct by sign, North Node in Cancer, could also be very creative with that nurturing. Neptune is ruled by Pisces. Pisces is ruled by Neptune, which is like imagination, also psychic ability, things like that. So somehow this person is using their imagination maybe to nurture people. I don't know. It's a thought. That's where we're starting there.
Okay.
Okay, so, or nurture. Maybe it's a writer, person who uses their imagination. I don't know. I'll get back to that. Okay. So, also, this person has Sun and Moon conjunct in Taurus, and Mercury also in Taurus. Okay, so Sun, Moon, and Mercury in Taurus. Well, I'd have to say this person's probably very stubborn. All that Taurus, whoa, that's a very stubborn person. And they're going to plow through like a bull in a china closet. They are going to do. And it's not like manipulative. They're like full on, like just let's bring it. Let's go. Let's dance.
Okay.
And it's in the 7th house, which is a house of partnerships. So all I can say is whoever her partner was, wow, they got a real dynamo here.
Okay.
I can just say, whoa, because this person, I can't see that this person would bend at all. Okay. This person would be like, it's my way or it's my way. There's no highway involved. That's what I think. Because it's in the 7th house, so it's house of partnerships. Even if it was partnerships with, business or romantic partnerships, this person is going to be the dominant figure, period. There's no way around that. Okay. Unless there's some square to it, but it doesn't look like it. I mean, this person is, no major ordeals with that I see. So, this person also has Saturn in the 5th house. Saturn is where the lessons come from, right? So this person has Saturn in Pisces in the 5th house. 5th house is ruled by Leo. And Saturn is your lessons, your life lessons, So they somehow have lessons with children, lessons with show business, lessons with leadership, all the things that represent Leo. This person has to learn those lessons. And moving this way, they have Chiron in Aquarius in the 4th house. And Chiron is the like teaching from lessons, pain to teaching, like what you the lessons that you learn that cause you pain, you then naturally should help other people with, teaching through that. In this situation, this person has Chiron in Aquarius, which is very humanitarian in the 4th house. So they would have initially had trauma at home, possibly, or even trauma from, I don't know. But the dark side of that is totalitarianism. So if there were totalitarianism at home, that would be very traumatic. And then maybe this person would help other people with humanitarian efforts with their homes, maybe with a country. I don't know. Mars conjunct Uranus. Woo! Mars conjunct Uranus in the 3rd house in Capricorn. Mars in Capricorn. Uranus in Capricorn. Literally conjunct. Man. Okay, so communications. Very motivated communications that come from out of the blue, because Uranus is just instant things like explosions or someone like screaming something at a meeting, or it's just not expected. It's unexpected. Uranus rules Aquarius. It's also humanitarian, but in this instant conjunct Mars, like by degree within the orb, it's conjunct Mars, which would put this person in a situation where they could be, I don't know, like a very vehement communicator, very motivated communicator. In Capricorn, it would be, dark side would be manipulative. Light side would be more teaching, maybe. Is any of this making sense?
Yes.
Oh, that's always a surprise because I have no idea. Okay, so let's go to sixth house, and sixth house is Venus in the sixth house. So this person must have loved to work. They love work. It's in Aries, so Venus in Aries in the sixth house would be, this person was very motivated. Like a workaholic, I would think. Seriously, a workaholic. Like, they love it. So whatever their career is, they really like it a lot. And they like things that Aries likes. Like, I don't know. I almost want to say they could work in a place of opulence. But I don't know. It's Venus. They would like to. Maybe they would like to work in a place of opulence. I don't know. Aries people like fancy things. So, but sixth house is ruled by Virgo, right? So it can be work. It can be healing. Those kind of things. Good things, like wanting to do good. Then we have eighth house, which has Pluto. Is it conjunct Pluto? Conjunct Jupiter? No, because we still have Jupiter in Cancer. So this Jupiter in Cancer at 9 degrees, even though it's in the eighth house, it's kind of pairing up with these, which is all like this person would have had very good fortune in pursuing their life's goals, or they would have, it would seem that perhaps they have the way kind of open for them in order to pursue what they're trying to do. Pluto in Gemini in the eighth house. Pluto in the eighth house in general is just like a double whammy because the eighth house is ruled by Scorpio and Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. But Pluto in Gemini would represent Gemini things, communications, communications and comedy and well, then Gemini can also
and what does it mean for communications and comedy? Just that they're good at it? Or
well, it's powerful because it's Pluto. So Pluto is either going to be one of two things. It's either going to be power, full-blown power, or it's going to be death and rebirth, death and rebirth, death and rebirth. Like the Phoenix, right? So this person could get to a level, burn down, and then come back up again, and burn down, and then come back up again. But in the eighth house, I want to say this person was more powerful, but really good at communications. It could be very powerful with communications, negotiations, interpretations. It could be airwaves, anything on the airwaves, radio, television, anything that works on that level with Gemini, which is an air sign of communications, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So also this person has Scorpio rising. So I can only imagine that this person would have been very alluring, that this would be a person who, even if they weren't necessarily considered beautiful. You know how you think, oh, well, this is beautiful. And, you say it's in the eye of the beholder. But this person could be very, I guess, sexy without even trying.
Yeah.
Right? This person wouldn't even necessarily have to try. They just are. It just is. Right? So, I think I've done all of the houses that have planets in it. So, do you have any questions? Oh, one more thing. This person has Leo on their midheaven. Having Leo on their midheaven would also make them very prone to show business. Or that arena, an arena of leadership and entertainment, but also maybe children too. But they have that fifth house Saturn. So either way, there's some sort of performance ability involved here. And maybe, because your midheaven is kind of like your career too.
Right. Right. What would the role of home and family play to this person?
Well, this person could have had a tragic beginning in their home, but then I think if they work Chiron the way it's supposed to be, you learn from this and then you nurture others. So it should have been that this person would have perhaps had a tragic childhood, maybe, but then done what they could to nurture their own family. Does that make sense? Okay.
Is this a timid person?
No, I would say no. I would not think this was a timid person. But having Scorpio on that first house, they might not be super duper gregarious when you first meet them. But all this, yeah, I can't imagine that this is a timid person.
What would her response be to fear?
I don't think this person is afraid of anything. I would want to go on a battlefield with this person.
Yeah, I think you would get along with this person very well.
I would not. I would go anywhere. This person probably carries weapons. I don't know.
What kind of person would she be attracted to as a romantic partner?
Well, on one hand, you have, her Mars is in Capricorn. So it is possible she could be attracted to a Capricorn type of person.
What does that mean?
Kind of a father figure, maybe.
Okay.
Someone who might be older than her. Maybe significantly older than her. I'm not sure. But whoever this person is would have to deal with all this, because this is a lot to deal with. So this person would have to really be able to handle her. Then on the other side of that is she could be attracted. But honestly, I think she would be attracted to her. Usually when you have a heterosexual chart and you look at, for a woman, you look at the Mars, and that's the kind of man they want. And she has Mars in Capricorn, right in the middle at 15 degrees in her third house. I would imagine that she would either be interested in being with someone who was a Capricorn or being with someone who was at least an earth sign, most likely older than her.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
How does this person respond to people?
Well, in general, this person doesn't have anything really in their 11th house, which would be groups of people. But their 11th house cusp is Virgo. So I would assume that they would be okay with groups of people, that they wouldn't have any major issues. But Virgo is very analytical, right? So if there were groups of people, this person would probably approach them like if they had to speak or interact with them, they would take a very analytical approach to it, possibly, and say, okay, and be very organized with whatever they were going to do with that situation.
Okay.
It all depends, because they also have that changes in the middle to Libra, right? And then we have it working its way around. So it depends on, I guess, wherever all the transits are at the time. But this person could also, I don't know, be kind of benevolent with people, be
Okay.
kind of creative and benevolent with them, maybe.
How would this person respond to praise or criticism?
Praise or criticism? Well, Scorpio rising is not necessarily going to give you a great ability to deal with criticism. They would deal very well with praise. Like, they would really like it a lot. Scorpios do like to be praised. So I would think, with having Leo on the midhaven and Scorpio on the first house, they would probably do very well with praise, maybe not so much with criticism.
Okay.
I would think maybe they would, this person might internalize that criticism. I don't know that they would, but I don't know. They got that Pluto and Gemini in the 8th house. They might just pop off. Anything could happen with them, with that Pluto and Gemini. But it's not Mercury. They have Mercury in Taurus, so they could fight them. Just fight them. I don't know. That Taurus is rough.
Would this person lead a sedentary life?
I don't think so. This person likes to go and attack things, I think. I think this person likes to... I mean, with Leo on the midhaven, I don't think this person would lead a sedentary life. I think this person is a very dynamic, very driven kind of person.
Would this person enjoy motherhood?
This person might need to learn motherhood. It has Saturn in the 5th house, so that would mean that this person could see motherhood as a lesson to be learned, as opposed to, like, if you have Moon in the 5th house, you're born to be a mother, right? You that's what you want.
Right.
You want to enjoy that whole experience and really relish it. This person might have found it a little bit difficult to be a mother. This person might have found it very lesson-wise challenging. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But even so, I mean, that Saturn there, learning lessons doesn't mean they're bad lessons. It's just that I don't think it came as natural for this person as another person.
How would this person respond to men and vice versa?
I think men would have been very attracted to this person because she's so independent. I think that men would be attracted. I mean, Scorpio rising, I don't think you cannot be attracted to a Scorpio rising person. They're naturally attractive, and they literally attract the opposite sex, maybe even the same sex. But I mean, I think that men would have been pursuing her. I think that she might dominate them. She certainly has the power to dominate them. But Taurus is also ruled by Venus, which is love, so she could have had many suitors.
Okay. So at this point, there is a definite connection between this person and our last episode, Eleanor of Aquitaine. I'd like to see what similarities there are in their charts.
Okay, so you want me to go back and forth?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, one similarity is that Eleanor of Aquitaine had a mountain of conjunct planets conjunct her sun, right? And her north node. She has north node conjunct Neptune also, right? And she has this in the 8th house. So she has a really heavy 8th house, which was, leadership and power. Power is 8th house. It's anything ruled by Scorpio. Could be death and rebirth too. This person has Pluto conjunct Jupiter in the 8th house. And Eleanor has a lot of the planets that this person has in their 8th and 9th house. The difference with Eleanor is that she had Capricorn rising, so she was more, I want to say, sophisticated. Not more elegant than this person. This person would have been more seductive, I guess. Or not necessarily, but maybe people thought of her as with more sex appeal.
Okay.
I mean, Eleanor has this huge 8th house, right? Which is just pure power. This person has Pluto conjunct Jupiter in the 8th house, which isn't as powerful.
Okay.
But this person has all these planets in Taurus in the 7th house, which would have made her a powerful partner. Just powerful. Is there anything in specific that you want me to look at between the two of them?
No, I just wanted to compare, contrast.
Okay, so this Eleanor has Pluto conjunct Jupiter in the 3rd house, and this person has Pluto conjunct Jupiter in the 8th house in Gemini. Eleanor has it in Pluto conjunct Jupiter in Taurus. So in this situation, Eleanor would have been more stubborn in her communications, more powerful in her communications, where this person has their Pluto conjunct Jupiter in Gemini, which would have made them a powerful communicator, not because it is in Gemini. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Over here, it's because it's in the 3rd house.
Okay.
Right? So there are similarities between the two. Looking at, yeah. Eleanor doesn't really have anything in the 5th house. She has Gemini ruling her 5th house. Is there anything else you wanted me to address with that?
No, I just wanted to take a look, and I think we're ready to summarize some of the major points that you pointed out during this initial reading.
Okay.
So this person, a natural nurturer, travel, creative and nurturing, a very imaginative person. This person is very stubborn, like a bull in a china shop. And she is stubborn in her relationships. There is only her way. There are lessons to be learned with show business. Early in her life, there was trauma at home. Communications, motivated in communications, a very vehement communicator. Someone who loves to work. Work in a place of opulence. Good fortune and pursuing life goals. Power in in communications, power in communications and comedy. Someone who's very alluring. Someone who is very prone to show business. possible tragic beginning, someone who'd be attracted to a father figure. This woman was independent. Men and women might be attracted to her. There any other things I left out of that summary?
No, that's pretty good.
Would you like to know whose chart you were looking at?
Yes.
So first, before I reveal the name, I will let you know that the connection between this woman and Eleanor of Aquitaine, this woman was an actress, and she won an Academy Award for portraying Eleanor of Aquitaine.
That's so cool.
You are looking at the astrological birth chart of Katharine Hepburn.
Oh my god, that's so good. It makes perfect sense that it's her. That's very good. Oh my, is it ever very good? Oh, that's amazing. I love it.
Katharine Houghton Hepburn was born May 12, 1907, in Hartford, Connecticut. She was the second of 6 children. Her family was a very progressive, some would say even radical family. Her mother, Catherine Martha Houghton, was a fiercely independent woman. She was the first in her family to attend college. She went to Bryn Mawr. When she was growing up, she wanted to attend college, and she was in a very blue blood Connecticut family. Her family said that she should not go to college, that is not what ladies do, but she was determined to go to college anyway. Catherine Houghton was a suffragette. She was a fierce campaigner for social issues, and she was a known associate of Margaret Sanger. She campaigned for women's and social issues, including birth control and the right to vote. She married Thomas Hepburn, who was a doctor. He was a urologist. The story goes that Catherine Houghton saw Thomas diving off of a dock into a lake. He was swimming in the lake, and she pointed at that man and said, "I'm going to marry that man." And made it so, and she was definitely a go-getter, and she married Thomas Hepburn. Catherine Hepburn had a very happy childhood. Her dinner table, there are stories of the dinner table where the parents were very encouraging to all the children to share their ideas as long as they were appropriate to the conversation. Share your thoughts and ideas on all the things that are being discussed. And honestly, I think it just would have been fascinating to be a fly on the wall looking at the Hepburn's dinner table, seeing a young Katharine Hepburn interacting with her family, but also interacting with all of the great luminaries of the progressive era. All of these great minds of the 19 teens would often stop by the Hepburn's dinner table and interacting with a young Katharine Hepburn. She was encouraged to think for herself, act for herself. The one thing that Katharine Hepburn's mother really wanted for her firstborn daughter was for her not to get married and not to have children. She wanted Katharine Hepburn to experience all the things that life had to offer outside of a relationship with a man, outside of being held down by a family. Katharine Hepburn was known as a tomboy. She was very athletic. She could always be seen running, climbing trees, swimming. She became a golf pro. This is the 19 teens and 20s. It was unheard of for women to play golf. Golf stands for gentlemen only, ladies forbidden. And Katharine Hepburn loved playing this sport. As a young child, she wanted her hair to be cut very short, and she wanted people to call her Jimmy. She idolized her older brother, Tommy. Tommy, the eldest of the Hepburn children, was described as a very serious young man. And one of the stories that most affected Katharine Hepburn's life happened when she was 13 years old. Her and Tommy went to visit their grandparents in New York City. And Tommy was not just serious, he was very depressed. And at the age of 15, he hung himself uh,
Oh
during this
no.
trip to New York City.
Oh
And
no.
Catherine, at the age of 13, was the one to discover his body.
Oh no.
This had a profound impact on her life. From then on, she never celebrated her birthday in May, which was the actual day of her
Hmm.
birth. She celebrated her birthday on Tommy's birthday.
Oh.
She couldn't go back to school. She had problems socializing, interacting with her fellow students, and she had to have a private tutor for the rest of her high school. She would eventually get through high school and then attended her mother's alma mater, Bryn Mawr. And while she was there, her first couple of semesters, she was still suffering from this depression. She was very isolated, was always seen studying alone, wasn't very good at interacting with her fellow students. But over the summer, between her freshman and sophomore year, she discovered her love of acting. And in fact, she announced to her family that summer that she was going to be an actress. And her father was very upset about this. Thomas Hepburn thought that acting was just one baby step above prostitution. That it could be, the worst thing that a young woman could get involved in. But Katharine Hepburn was determined to become an actress, and she started performing in school plays and getting rave reviews in these school plays, and decided that she was going to continue her career in acting after she graduated, and started getting small roles in plays all across the United States. During this time, she married her college friend, Luddy. They would be married for 6 years, and he was known as being a very supportive husband, but he while he supported her in all of her acting opportunities, he always thought that this was just a phase, that eventually she would come home and want to be just a regular domesticated wife, and he was in for a real surprise. So Katharine Hepburn kept getting roles on and off Broadway throughout the 20s and 30s. Her breakout role was in The Warrior Husband. She played an Amazon warrior, and her entrance onto the stage, she came onto the stage wearing full Amazon warrior armor and carrying a stag over her shoulders. She threw the stag onto the stage floor and then wrestled her husband to the ground.
That's great.
That is how she was discovered, portraying this role. She was signed to a contract to RKO Pictures. Her first film was Bill of Divorcement with John Barrymore. This was a great success. And then she did another film, and then by her third film, the third motion picture she had ever made, she won the Academy Award for Best Actress. She was 26 years old.
That's amazing.
Katharine Hepburn was known as the epitome of the modern woman of the 1930s. One of the things that set her apart was that she wore pants. For us today, it's hard for us to really conceptualize how much of an amazing thing this was, how out of the ordinary for a woman to wear pants. In fact, there were only 3 famous women who were known for wearing pants: Marlene Dietrich, Greta
Mm-hmm.
Garbo, and Katharine
Mm-hmm.
Hepburn.
Mm-hmm.
What set Hepburn apart was that Dietrich and Garbo were using pants as a tool, that they were playing around with gender norms. A lot of times they were wearing tuxedos and
Mm-hmm.
using this male garment as a way to emphasize their sexuality. Hepburn wore jeans because she felt comfortable wearing jeans. She was just being herself. She wasn't using this as any great tool to achieve anything. She just felt comfortable wearing jeans, and so she did. At one point, one of the people on the studio lot, one of the producers, was so upset that she was wearing pants that he went into the dressing room and took them away. So Katharine Hepburn went without pants and without just in her underwear until someone returned her jeans.
I love it.
Katharine Hepburn continued making films throughout the mid to late 30s, but quickly fell into a slump. RKO didn't really know what to do with her. They had great success with her first 3 films, but quickly started putting her into these period dramas. And later on in her career, she would do very well with Shakespeare. But at this point, she was being herself as the epitome of the modern 1930s woman, and RKO was pushing her into these Shakespearean Elizabethan roles, and it did not work out very well. The movies didn't make a lot of money. In 1938, she was included in an article that labeled many actors in Hollywood as box office poison. So Katharine Hepburn was included with Marlene Dietrich, Greta Garbo, Joan Crawford, Fred Astaire, all as people that if you put them in the movie is going to lose money.
Oh no!
Now, me personally, I would love to be included in a list with Fred Astaire and Joan Crawford, but this article really had an impact, and really all of her jobs started drying up. Eventually, she decided to buy herself out of her contract. So back then, movie stars did not get to make any movie they wanted with any studio, with any director. The studios bought these people and said that you had to make these certain movies either this many years or this many movies before you can be released. And she decided that the people at RKO were not managing her career very well, and so she took up her own money, bought herself out of the contract, and left Hollywood. She went to Broadway. And luckily, at the same time, one of her friends, Philip Barry, wrote a role in a play specifically for her. And that play was The Philadelphia Story. And this was a tremendous hit on Broadway. With the help of her on-again, off-again boyfriend, Howard Hughes, she bought the film rights to this play. She then went to Hollywood and negotiated with Louis B. Mayer for the production of this movie. This is in 1941, and a woman is going up to Louis B. Mayer, one of the most powerful men in the industry, and telling him who's going to be in this movie, that she's going to star in this movie, and that Jimmy Stewart and Cary Grant were going to star alongside her. Unheard of at this time. And they made The Philadelphia Story, and it is one of the greatest romantic comedies. It's one of the greatest films ever made. Jimmy Stewart, Cary Grant, Katharine Hepburn, it's perfect. It's a wonderful movie. She followed this up that very same year in 1941 by developing her own project. So she had found the story for Woman of the Year, and she was the one who said that was going to be a film and that she was going to be in that film, and that the person that she would star, who would co-star with her, would be Spencer Tracy. She had never worked with Spencer Tracy before, but Tracy was already by that time known as one of the greatest actors in Hollywood. Their first meeting occurred on the lot as pre-production was starting for this film. Tracy was wearing heels and was taller than Spencer Tracy when she was wearing her heels, and came up to Tracy for the first time and said, "Oh, I believe I'm going to be too tall for you, Mr. Tracy." And Tracy just smiled and said, "I think I'll cut you down to size."
Ooh.
And that started a relationship, a professional and personal romantic relationship that would last over 25 years. During the filming of Woman of the Year, she would actually try and catch Spencer Tracy, try and catch him off guard. At one point, they were filming a scene, and she spilled a glass of water during the scene, which was not supposed to happen. Tracy handed her a handkerchief, and she started cleaning up the spill, went underneath the table to clean up the spill. All the time, she's saying her lines as she's doing this, thinking that this is going to mess Spencer Tracy up. Spencer Tracy just smiles and does the scene just the way it was supposed to be, and that is the take that is in the movie. So their professional success would be 9 movies together, and their personal romance that would last over 25 years. Many describe them as pure soulmates. Now, Spencer Tracy was married this entire time. He was a very religious Irish Catholic and would never get a divorce from his wife, especially because he had a young son who was deaf. And he never wanted to do anything to try and break up that family. So their whole relationship was kept a secret, and all of Hollywood kept it a secret. This is a time of Hedda Hopper, and these gossip columnists all knew about it and decided they would not write about it, that they would just let them live their lives. There are so many stories about their relationship together. A lot of people point out that Spencer Tracy was older than her and acted as a father figure, gave her the same approval or lack of approval that that her own father did. Spencer Tracy hung out with what a lot of people would call the Irish Mafia. So these were all these Irish movie stars. Like Bing Crosby and Jimmy Cagney, and they would get together in clubs and play cards. And one of these times, they were playing cards, and Katharine Hepburn stormed into this game and gave Spencer Tracy what for, telling him all the things he was doing wrong and fussing at him. And no one had ever seen a woman come into this card game and talk to a man like that. And Jimmy Cagney said that Spencer Tracy smiled, and he said, "Red, sit down and shut up." And she did. And Jimmy Cagney had never seen any man talk to Katharine Hepburn that way. So they were just perfect for each other. In the 1950s, she was caught up in the Red Scare. The House Un-American Activities Committee was trying to find communists who were distributing propaganda in Hollywood. And her name and Spencer Tracy's came up. Following in her father and mother's footsteps, she was very progressive. She was very left-leaning. She at one time made a speech for Henry Wallace. Henry Wallace was the Democrat running for president in 1948 who was to the left of Harry Truman, so very progressive left-leaning candidate. And she had the misfortune of making this speech in a pink dress. So everyone wanted to label her a pinko commie. And so the House Un-American Activities Committee was going to bring up Tracy and Hepburn to see if they could name names of other communists in the entertainment industry. And so they were about to get a subpoena, and their savior came from a very unlikely source. Congressman from California, Richard Milhouse Nixon, was the one to say, no, we are not going to give a subpoena to Tracy and Hepburn. They have done so much for America with all the things that they've done during the war effort. They are off limits. We're not going to drag them up against this committee. I'm sure neither of them ever voted for him for anything, but it's very interesting that Nixon was the one to get in the way there. In 1951, Katharine Hepburn was entering middle age, and this is something that's a big no-no in Hollywood for women to even approach 40. But she continued making hit after hit. In 1951, she made The African Queen. This is, again, one of the greatest movies ever made. I just saw it over the summer. It is Humphrey Bogart and Katharine Hepburn. They are directed by John Huston. And the stories of making this film in the middle of Africa with John Huston and Humphrey Bogart, who were drunk out of their minds all the time. Katharine Hepburn knew that they were going to do this, and knew that there had to be one soba one on the set, and so she decided that she would not have one drop of alcohol. All she would do would drink the water. So she suffered from all of the diseases that come from drinking the water in Africa. If you watch the movie, there's a scene at the beginning where she is playing the organ and her body is shaking and she is sweating. She is suffering from dysentery at the time that they are filming this. They have a bucket next to her so that she can vomit, come back up, play more, take another take, and get through that scene that way. You know who didn't get sick? Humphrey Bogart and John Huston, because they didn't drink the water, they drank whiskey.
That's great.
She continued making great film throughout the 1950s and 60s. In 1967, she made the movie Guess Who's Coming to Dinner with Sidney Poitier and her own niece, Catherine Houghton, and Spencer Tracy. This would in fact be the last pairing of Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn. Tracy would pass away 2 weeks after filming was over. And this is another great movie of the times of the civil rights era, of these two California progressive-minded people who have a daughter who wants to marry an African-American doctor and has to, throw all of what they believe in. Do they actually believe in equality and all of these things? And it is a great movie. And she won her second Academy Award for that movie. Her work started to fade down in the 1970s. Did a lot more stage work in the 70s. In 1973, she did her first television interview with Dick Cavett. I encourage everyone to watch this. It is a fantastic interview. She's running roughshod over Dick Cavett on all these questions. Eventually, you just sit and you look at Dick and you're like, please just get out of the way and let her talk. It is, it's on YouTube. I encourage everyone to watch it. In 1968, she made The Lion in Winter. This is her connection to Eleanor of Aquitaine. She plays Eleanor of Aquitaine in The Lion in Winter. Peter O'Toole plays Henry II. It is a fantastic film, and Katharine Hepburn does not sound anything like how Eleanor of Aquitaine actually sounds. Eleanor probably had a French accent. Katharine Hepburn did not change her voice one bit, but she still won her third Academy Award for playing Eleanor of Aquitaine. She actually tied with Miss Barbra Streisand. It's one of the only times that there's been a tie at the Academy Awards. And she tied with Barbra Streisand for Best Actress in 1968. Her fourth Oscar win would come from On Golden Pond. Another fantastic film, 1981. It was Henry Fonda's last film. Jane Fonda is in it. To this day, there's no other actress, not Meryl Streep or anybody, who has won 4 Academy Awards for Best Actress. That title, that record is still held by Katharine Hepburn. Her career covered over 6 decades, 12 Academy Award nominations, and 4 wins. She is known as one of the best actresses, one of the best to practice her craft in the 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
If you have not seen one of her movies, I encourage you all to see Bringing Up Baby, or Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, or any of these films. She's just a tremendous person. I watched Bringing Up Baby recently, preparing for this episode, and fell in love with her all over again.
Mm-hmm.
Just a fantastic woman, a true independent spirit, and I think that our chart here really gets very close and to who this woman was, and it was all set out there.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And the sad part is about her brother, this tragedy and trauma in the home early on, and her nurturing ability, you know, through her talent. And she's just amazing. And the older man, Spencer Tracy, it's very interesting what's in your chart. Very interesting.
Are there any other things in the chart that make a little more sense now that you know who it is?
Well, you asked about motherhood, but clearly she was connected to show business. It was her it was her life, it was her lesson. She had to do it. And she had Saturn in the fifth house.
Yeah, she actually did
So,
not have children, and she
mhm.
did not get married again after her divorce with Luddy.
Mhm.
But a lot of times the children and show business go together, and I think that she also talks about after her brother died. She was the eldest of the siblings, and she took on sort of a motherly role in the family
Mm.
and nurturing the siblings. And all of her nephews and nieces talk about the role that she played in helping them grow up. But she saw it
Mhm.
very much as she could either focus on her work or she could have a family, and she decided
Mhm.
to focus on her work.
Mhm. Mhm. That's Saturn. Saturn in the fifth house. Yeah, she's amazing. She's truly amazing. And I hope that the description that I gave of her uh makes sense for who she was.
Yeah, I think it absolutely does. I think on our scale of right on the money to way out in outer space is another one, right on the money. This is definitely who Katharine Hepburn was.
Mhm. Very. It's an honor to do her chart. It really is.
That concludes this episode of History in Retrograde. I'd like to thank you all for listening and watching. If you do like this podcast, please like, share, subscribe to the channel for more content like this in the future. If you're on Apple Podcast, this podcast is all about stars, so please give us all 5 stars, give us a rating and a review. And until next time, if all your houses are in order and the stars are aligned, everything will be just fine.
Thank you for listening. Blessings to you all.
Bye-bye.
Salal Creek Studio.